Hello, welcome to our ICE Assembly. Today we're going to talk about Easter. Now, Easter is a time where we celebrate spring and new life, and we celebrate it with chocolate. But another word that we associate with Easter is faith.
We often associate faith with religion, but actually it's much bigger than that. The Google Dictionary defines it like this: having complete trust and confidence in someone or something. So actually, we all exercise faith every day. Whenever I sit down on a chair, I have faith that it's going to hold my weight. When I go to bed at night, I have faith and trust that the sun's going to come up in the morning. Whenever I get in my car or on my bike, I trust that the brakes are going to work. But more than things, we trust or have faith in people too. A couple of weeks ago, a lady turned up on my doorstep with a cake. It made my day. I trusted the person, and so I ate the cake, and it was absolutely delicious. If I hadn't trusted her, I wouldn't have eaten the cake, and I'd have really missed out. I trusted the lady who brought the cake round because she's a friend of my parents, and so I've known her ever since I was a kid. I've never eaten a cake before, but because I know her and have chatted to her, I trusted her. I trusted that she hadn't poisoned it. I was glad I did. It was really good. What about barbers or hairdressers? We trust them to cut our hair to do a good job. Maybe because they've done it before, and so we know what they're like. We know that we can trust them. Those of you that have let your parents cut your hair during lockdown, you've exercised enormous faith in them. I trust my hairdresser to cut my hair because she's done it before, got a track record. Finding a new hairdresser is hard work sometimes. You have to put your faith in someone else. I tend to stand outside the hairdresser and check that people's hair looks okay when they leave, or make sure I go somewhere where there's someone more senior, so if the person that cuts my hair messes up, at least there's someone there to fix it. Maybe you let your brother or sister go first, having their hair cut by your parents, just to check that they did a reasonable job before you trusted them. Who or what do you have faith in?
So we have faith in lots of things and in different people. But sometimes it's pretty hard to believe in something you can't see. We even have a phrase, "I'll believe it when I see it." For some people, it might seem incredibly difficult to believe in something you don't have visible evidence for. But actually, we do this all the time. For example, gravity. We can't see gravity, the force that keeps us on the ground, but we can feel it and we can see its effects. But gravity's weird, right? Like how a light object and a heavy object fall at the same rate. So if I take this tennis ball and this brick, my instinct says the brick is going to fall faster because it's heavier, but actually they fall at the same rate. This experiment was made famous by Galileo back in the 16th century on top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but it's been repeated many times. It was even done by Apollo astronauts on the surface of the moon with a hammer and a feather, and being on the moon, there was no air resistance, so it showed that they fell at the same rate.
How about that?
We also have faith in lots of other things we haven't seen. For example, Australia. I've never been to Australia, but I believe it's there because people I trust have told me it's there and told me what it's like. I've seen pictures of it in the news, and I've seen it on a map. But I've never seen it myself with my own eyes. I have faith that it's there. So we have faith in things we can't see, like gravity, and tons of other things. But there are also bigger things that people have faith in, like God. Belief in God isn't abnormal. In fact, 84% of Earth's population believe in God. But at Easter, Christians celebrate something stranger. Christians believe that at Easter, Jesus of Nazareth, who'd been dead for 3 days, came back to life again. Now, I love history. And doing history is a bit like being a detective. You do thorough research, look through all the evidence, both for and against, and come to your conclusion.
Detective Young, it's been reported that the body of that rebel, Jesus of Nazareth, is missing. He was executed 3 days ago, and was definitely dead. His tomb was even guarded, so this is going to be a PR nightmare if it gets out. Get to the bottom of what happened. I'm counting on you, don't let me down.
Okay, yeah, I got it. Let's get to the bottom of this. Tell me everything you know.
Well, what is it that you want to know?
About the whole Jesus thing?
Well, I already told you. He died, came back alive again.
Yeah, very funny. Just, my kids can make up better stories than that.
Well, I don't know what there is to make up. We went to see him on Sunday. We went to the tomb to pay respects. And, well, the atmosphere was quite strange. It was a bit weird, you could say. The gods were gone. The gods, they weren't there anymore. And the stone that had once closed the tomb had been rolled away. So I took a look for myself inside the tomb. I went in. That's when I realised his body was gone. All that was left was the silks he'd once been wrapped in.
Wait, say that again. The silks. That's like the only thing worth taking if you steal a body. Why would they leave that behind?
Well, that's because his body wasn't stolen. He'd come back alive again.
Yeah, you already said that, but it's not very convincing. How do I know that you didn't take his body?
You really think a group of women and fishermen overpowered the world's strongest gods?
Yeah, okay, fair point. But the only thing we know right now is that you went there and there was no body. So how do you come to the conclusion that he's alive?
Well, he came for dinner with us yesterday.
What? Do you have any sort of proof? Do you have any pictures?
Well, he didn't look like the Jesus we used to know. He looked different. More complete. So no, we didn't take any pictures.
So wait, okay, let me recount that. So you went to the tomb and the tomb was empty.
Yeah.
And then you had dinner with a guy that didn't look like Jesus, but he claimed he was. How on earth do you get to the assumption that it was him?
Well, he sat down with us for dinner, and instead of doing the normal prayer, he got the bread and he broke it.
Well, but anyone can pray over a piece of bread.
Yeah, but Jesus is the only one who actually did that. He did it with us the day before he died.
Okay, so obviously he did some things that were like Jesus' habits, or like breaking the bread. But still, how do you know it's not just somebody copying him?
Okay, so maybe someone was copying him. But if they did, they went to a lot of efforts to make it look like him. They even had holes in their hands.
Wait, what do you mean holes in their hands?
Well, when someone is crucified and then nailed on a cross, they have nails put in their hands and their feet. And obviously, that causes wounds, it causes holes in the hands. And this man had these holes.
Alright, yeah, that makes sense.
Look! Oh, one of our friends even got a picture.
Oh.
Christians believe that there's lots of historical evidence to support their claim that Jesus rose from the dead. But it's still an incredible claim. It's not like people rise from the dead all the time. But they have believed it for 2,000 years now. So what do you think happened on that first Easter?
So we've talked about faith, about what Christians believe about Easter, and we've looked at some of the evidence for that. But so what? How does all this make any difference? Christians believe that Easter is a message of hope. They believe that when Jesus died, he took upon himself all the bad stuff that we've done and ever will do, and paid the price for our mess. Because of this, we have the opportunity to have an intimate relationship with a loving God and know forgiveness. But then, Jesus rose from the dead. He overcame the power of death, which tells us that death isn't the end, that Jesus is victorious. He went to be with the Father and he's coming back again. Christians believe that because Jesus rose from the dead, this means that he's alive today. We can know him personally and know the forgiveness and love of God. But also that there's hope for new life. Christians believe that death is not the end, but there's hope of eternal life still to come.
Hope is a tricky thing. At the moment, I have hope that one day life will go back to being relatively normal again. That I'll be able to go on holiday this summer. That I'll be able to see my friend who lives a long way away. Or I'll be able to give my mum a hug. And that hope is built on faith. Faith that the vaccine programme and lockdown measures have worked. And spring is always a time of hope. A time to think about winter passing away and new life coming in. So what do you have hope in? Happy Easter.